Welcome to Women of Courage, where you will hear the stories of courageous women, women from all walks of life who have faced significant challenges along the path of their life journey. Women who have tapped into their inner resources and found the courage to confront, to overcome, and to triumph. I'm Ann Miner, your host for the show, and my guests have all agreed to share their experiences so others may learn from them. It is my hope that these stories will inspire you, that knowing you are not alone in facing the bumpy road of life, you will be motivated to keep moving, that you will take action and courageously pursue your own dreams and passions, no matter what obstacles are presented along the way. Just as our women of courage have won over their challenges, you can too. Stay with us. We'll be back with today's Women of Courage in just a moment.
If I were brave.
Town Council discusses topics that affect your future. Tune in Tuesday nights at 8 to see what Ingersoll politicians are saying right here on Rogers TV.
I'm Mike Harding, host of Innovation Oxford. One of the ways we remember important historical events. And of course, you've seen the kind of haircut they give here. Watch us on Rogers TV. Innovation is everywhere.
I enjoy getting to see what really goes on behind the shows and getting to try all the aspects that go into it. As a volunteer, I'm allowed to do camera, graphics, teleprompter, audio. It's fun because the people you work with, they're really nice and they have the same interests as you. So you have stuff to talk about and they can share what they've learned too, and it's just a great experience.
Hey Canada, I'm George Strombolopoulos.
My name is Tricia Helfer.
I'm Kim Coates.
I'm Chuck Hughes.
It's Sandra Oh.
I'm Mark McKinney. Help fill the cup.
Hi Canada, I'm Gabrielle Miller. Come on, fill the cup.
Pass the cup.
Please fill the cup, Canada.
Canada, pass the cup.
Come on, Canada, let's fill the cup. Fill the cup.
Fill the cup.
Let's fill the cup.
Let's fill the cup.
Let's fill the cup.
Let's fill the cup.
What would I do today if I were brave?
Welcome back to Women of Courage. I have with me Joanna Mitchell. Welcome, Joanna.
Thanks for having me.
We're looking forward to hearing your story, and I understand you want to start with yourself newly married.
That's right. My husband and I, we were married in 1998. My husband grew up in Woodstock, and so we had decided that when we got married, we were going to move to Woodstock and start our family here. So we were married for a couple years, decided to work on starting a family, and I pretty quickly became pregnant. I went for my 11-week ultrasound with my first pregnancy, and I always refer to that day as the day that the fairy tale ended. You always think as you're growing up, I'm going to get married and I'm going to have a family and everything's going to be wonderful. Well, my first pregnancy was not a successful pregnancy, and that devastated me. We got through that. I went through a bit of a depression at that time, but we continued to try and start a family. The next 4 years, I was unable to get pregnant. I was going through tests, trying to figure out why. In the meantime, I was watching my friends have children, 1 children, 2 children, and it was hard to watch, and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't my turn. Then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I got pregnant, and I was in the doctor's office at 14 weeks in the morning, listening to the baby's heartbeat, and everything seemed like it was going to be happening. Unfortunately, that night, I was at the hospital miscarrying again. At that point, I said, okay, things are working. Let's try right away to get pregnant again. And a few months later, I did get pregnant again, and I was pregnant with my daughter, Riley. The pregnancy was wonderful. There was no problems. I wasn't sick. It seemed like it was starting to happen for us. Riley came a month early, but everything seemed to be fine. She was healthy, she was perfect. And then at 2 months, we noticed she was having these funny little spells. She was vomiting over a few days, and she was breathing funny, this little sighing noise when she was breathing. And I became concerned. You don't want to overreact. You're first-time parents, and you don't want to be rushing to the doctor for everything. But after 3 or 4 days of this, I said to my husband, I think we need to go have her looked at. So, never having been to a walk-in clinic before, we went at 7 o'clock at night thinking we were going to get in. And of course, the walk-in clinic was full. And I just had this instinct that we needed to have her seen that night. So we said, we're going to drive by the emergency room. If it's not too busy, we'll go in. If it's busy, we'll wait and we'll call our doctor the next morning. Well, fate would have it, the emergency room was empty, completely empty. I mean, that never happens. We were seen immediately, and of course, when we were triaged, the nurse said, oh, first-time parents, right? And we felt like we were overreacting. The doctor checked her over and did a chest x-ray, and very soon we were in an ambulance to London Children's Hospital, and they told us that we were going to have more tests on her. I remember that ambulance ride. I just watched her every breath. I didn't know what was wrong. I didn't know if we were going to make it to London. But we did get there, and within a few minutes, the doctor there held up the chest x-ray in the air, and I heard the doctor say, enlarged heart. I knew those were not good words. They called in a cardiologist to do an echo on her heart, and after he did the echo, we got the diagnosis, which was dilated cardiomyopathy, which basically means an enlarged heart. When your heart muscle becomes enlarged, it doesn't pump the blood through your body properly, and your body starts to shut down. And one of the things that shuts down is your digestive system, and that was why she was vomiting. When the doctor gave us the diagnosis, he told us right then she was probably going to need a heart transplant. I looked at him and I said, so are you telling me she's going to die? Because I am, let's get to the bottom line. I need to know what I'm dealing with type of person. And he said, no, but this is very serious, obviously. The next few days in London, they stabilized her on some cardiac medications, trying to improve her heart function, which was not happening. So they airlifted her to Toronto Sick Kids, which is the pediatric heart transplant center closest to us. In Toronto, they were able to stabilize her enough that we came home, and they said, we'll monitor her, see if her heart improves, and go from there. So the next 5 months, we were at home making weekly visits to Toronto, just watching and waiting to see what would happen. And we managed to have our first Christmas with her at home, but then in January, we went for a checkup in London on her condition, and I didn't come home again for 2 months. The doctor decided to admit her because her breathing was so bad. Her lungs were becoming filled with fluid because her heart wasn't working properly. The doctor at that point gave us a choice. We either needed to make the decision to list her for a transplant, or we had to go the route of palliative care to make her comfortable until she passed. Well, there's no question. We were going to list her for transplant. So we were then sent back to Toronto again to begin the process for listing her. She was listed on January 19th, 2006, and very fortunately, she only waited 10 days for her heart.
Wow.
January 29th, 2006, she received her gift of life. The change was immediate. She was out of ICU 2 days after her transplant, and 11 days after her transplant, she was discharged from the hospital. It was just a miracle, the difference in her, and she smiled so much, we started calling her Smiley Riley. So we had to stay living in Toronto for another month, and then we came home after that, and she's done so well with her gift of life. It's just been amazing. After her transplant, we knew there was a little bit of heart history in our family. We started doing some more digging and realized that there's quite an extensive history in our family of this dilated cardiomyopathy. And at that point, we decided with our history, with not having successful pregnancies and infertility, and then Riley having a heart transplant, that we didn't want to go down that route again. So at that point, we made the decision to adopt our second child. So we began a new process. We've done a lot of waiting in our lives. So we did the training to begin the adoption process and completed our home study. And then we waited for 2 years. But then our son Landon was brought into our lives, and we adopted him. And so we have 2 wonderful children right now. But we face a lot of challenges in our lives with our children. They keep us very busy. With Riley, we do a lot of work with raising awareness of organ and tissue donation and the benefits. When people meet Riley, she's going to be 8 years old in a week.
Yes.
And you would never know that she's had a heart transplant. She is just beautiful, she's big, she eats well, she's healthy. But we know that at some point in her life, she's likely going to need another heart transplant. Typically, heart transplants last 10 to 15 years before you need another one. And we are already 7.5 years in, so we know the importance of letting people know how people benefit from organ and tissue donation.
Well, we're going to take a little bit of a break here soon. And when we come back, Joanna, you have just told that story like it went by so smoothly. And I know along the way that there must have been moments when you needed some encouragement. So when we come back after the break, let's talk a little bit about that, all right? Stay with us. We'll be back with Joanna in just a moment.
If I were brave,
Although some boaters may consider running out of their favorite salty snack an emergency, in the event of a real problem on the water, there are several ways to call for help. The most immediate and effective way of letting someone know you need help is to use a VHF radio tuned to channel 16. When cell service is available, dialing star 16 will reach the Coast Guard Marine Communications Center as well. To alert others a distance away, visual distress signals can be used. When help is close at hand, a whistle or horn sounded repeatedly will alert nearby boaters. At night, a flashlight can also be used to attract attention by repeating 3 short, 3 long, and 3 short flashes. During the day, if it's sunny, a signaling mirror can be used. Or if help is very close by, stand near the bow of your boat and repeatedly raise and lower your arms to indicate assistance is needed. For more information, visit smartboater.ca.
what step would I take today if I were brave?
Welcome back to Women of Courage, and welcome back to Joanna. We're going to hear a little more of Joanna's story. We'll circle back to the time when you and Riley were on your journey together, and tell us a little bit more about the challenges that you faced.
Well, during the period when we were at home waiting to see if her heart function would improve, I was on maternity leave at the time, so I was the one that was giving her most of the care and watching her every day. And that was difficult because other people, other families were out there going for walks with their children, and I would go for walks and I just felt like I was on another planet. They had no idea what journey we were going through, that my child was fighting for survival. So that was difficult to try and fit into normal life when you have such a sick child. I also tend to deal with things a little bit different emotionally. I tend to close in and shut down, and I don't want to talk. Whereas other people in the family, they wanted to talk about things, and I had trouble with that. I just needed to be in my own headspace, in my own little world. So that was definitely a challenge as well. you also live with the fear when we came home after transplant. You're not right close to the doctors. Is this little cold? Is that a sign of rejection? Or is something going wrong? You're always watching. And then I had to start back to work and leave her. She started with my mother-in-law. I was fortunate that I was able to start back at work part-time. So that was another challenge. I've worked up to full-time since then, and she's done really well, so we've been fortunate. I also felt very alone the first year after her transplant. I would go to mom and tot groups, and mothers were upset about their kids getting their vaccinations, and I couldn't identify with that. We were just on a whole different level. So it was just trying to accept that other people's pain was the same but different, was a challenge. And eventually, through social media, I reached out and I started meeting other mothers that had gone through the transplant journey, and they have been there for me so many times, keeping me calm and sane, walking through things when you're ready to just lose it, and keeping you know, knowing and understanding what you're going through has been really wonderful for me. Being able to go out and promote awareness. We're involved with Trillium Gift of Life Network, the Canadian Transplant Association. We also have a little volunteer group here in Oxford County trying to raise awareness in our county. All of those things helps us feel like we're doing something to help other people who are on the waiting list. One of my cousins is actually waiting for a heart. She's been waiting for a heart for 3 years. So I need to get that word out so people understand the importance of organ donation. You also, along the way, some people can't handle this life that we lead. It's difficult for them to know that we've gone through this with our child, and we're probably going to go through it again. So we've learned who our friends are along the way, made new friends. We have met so many wonderful people that have gone through similar journeys and have such an appreciation for life that even though we wouldn't want to have to go through this, we feel so blessed that we've met so many wonderful people. One of my favorite quotes is, "Life is not measured by the number of breaths we take, but by the moments that take our breath away." So we spend a lot of time as our family trying to make these moments and just enjoying each other. We've been so blessed with having our son Landon brought into our life as well. He does have some challenges with his prenatal exposure to drugs and alcohol, which is a lot of work, but we know that we are good advocates for him, that he is going to have the best chance at life because we know that we need to get people involved. We know that we need to do the things to help him so that he can be successful in life.
And how old is he now?
He is 4.
Yes.
He's a very busy 4-year-old. He keeps mom running.
So there's 4 years between Riley and Landon.
Yes. And they are very different personalities, so that is a challenge too. Landon is very sports-minded, very active, and very, very strong-willed. Riley's the total opposite. She's so easygoing, just does her own thing. It was a big challenge when we got Landon. He was crawling around the house, and I was off on parental leave, and I was so exhausted. I think I lost 10 pounds in the first couple of months I had him. We didn't have to childproof with Riley, but we did with him. So it's been an adventure. But my children, they each bring different blessings into our lives. Where we've learned a lot through Riley's journey about life and appreciating it. Landon brings so much laughter to our lives. He is such a funny little guy. We always joke that he's going to be a comedian or an actor when he grows up.
Yes.
So it's been a pretty amazing journey. And I think back on things that I would tell people that are going through something like this. Often we get told, I don't know how you could do that. I could never do that. But you can. These are your children, and you don't give up on your children. If your child is sick, you stick with them, and you just put one foot in front of the other, and you love them, and you do whatever you can to make sure that they have a successful life, and in Riley's case, to have a life. So you just keep going, and you just make sure that as a parent, one of the other important things I found along the way was self-care. I was always home at first. I was afraid to leave her, and I was going crazy. I was depressed. When you get home from the hospital, you go through a bit of post-traumatic stress disorder, and I was crying a lot. I kept it together in the hospital. When I got home, I fell apart. So I finally discovered, I went to a yoga class, and that was amazing. And I haven't stopped doing yoga since then. It's my stress relief. It gets me centered back into things and gets my head in the right space again, just to think about things clearly. So that's one of the important things that I've learned. And also not to rush life. Too often with our kids, we're overscheduling them.
Yes.
And it's so easy to do. So I often have to take a step back and say, no, we're not going to do that. You know, the kids can do this, but we're going to do this as a family. So it's been a learning experience. I do things now that I could never have imagined. For example, sitting on this show.
Yes.
I could never have imagined doing public speaking and sharing Riley's story, but now we regularly do that. And I'm not necessarily that personality to do that, but I have an important message. So that is one thing I've really learned, is that I need to speak out, share the message, advocate for my children.
Well, absolutely. And what is the message that you would like to leave our audience with? I know you have a couple, actually. Yeah.
Well, my most important message is to talk to your family about organ donation. I know it's not an easy conversation. We don't want to talk about death. But what better legacy to leave when you're gone than to save up to 8 lives? Because that's how many lives can be saved by organ donation from one donor. And you're actually more likely to need an organ than to qualify to be an organ donor. So please take your health card, get rid of those signed cards that everybody carries in their wallets, because the system has changed in Ontario. Take your health card, go to beadonor.ca, type in your health card number. You can check whether you're already registered, and if you're not, you can go in and register. It takes 2 minutes. It's so quick.
I can tell you that's absolutely true. I did it myself.
Excellent.
And received the confirming letter to put in my file so my family would know that I was registered.
And definitely have that conversation with your family. Your family does make the final decision, and it's so much easier for them if they already know what your wishes are. I've worked with many donor families, and they said that decision was the easiest part of the process of losing their loved one, because they already knew what their wishes were.
Absolutely. So do you want to repeat that website?
Of course I do. Yes. So that's beadonor.ca.
B-E-A-D-O-N-O-R.
Yes, correct.
Right, .ca for Canada.
.ca, yes.
Yeah, and would you like to add something more? I know that you said you were just starting a journey with that young rascal of yours. What other message would you like to leave?
I think a lot of people are hesitant about adoption, and I think it, you know, people have said to me, oh, that's such a wonderful thing you've done, and I sort of feel like I don't know that it's a wonderful thing that I've done. It was sort of selfish reasons. I wanted to have a bigger family and children in my life, but it is an option for children, and there's so many children that need homes, and yes, it's going to be a challenge, but they need families, and we need to support those children, and they have such a better chance at life by us taking that chance and going through the process of adoption. We've met so many wonderful families and have beautiful children because of that. So it's definitely something to consider for people who are having difficulty with having children.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Joanna. I know there are many people who have walked a similar path who will be inspired by your story.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. And now a few words of wisdom from a wonderful, wacky, one-of-a-kind woman, Jezebel Peppa, who will share with us her thoughts on the themes of today's episode.
Hello, darlings. Jezebel Peppa here. Darlings, are you familiar with the phrase, "It's never too late"? I want you to get comfortable with it, and I want you to repeat it every day. I want you to say it every time you think, "Oh, I wish I could do this." I want you to say it every time you think, maybe I could change this behavior. It's never too late to be the person you want to be. And darlings, if you've got something in your past and it hurt you, it's never too late to start working through it. It's never too late to start the healing process. So, here's what I want you to do. Think about the endless possibilities you could have in your life by understanding that it's never too late. Celebrate that. And remember to celebrate the Jezebel in you.
I enjoy Rogers because I meet lots of cool people. The crews are great, the producers are friendly, and it's just an all-around good time. It also gives me that work experience, and it helps with team building skills because you're constantly working with new people every day. Rogers was a great opportunity. I was already interested in the television field, and I felt that this was a great way to expand my knowledge.
Here's a self-defense technique you can learn in less than a minute. And this is a hair grab from someone behind you. They grab your hair. First thing I want to do is I'll reach up, trap his hand. Because if I have his hands, I know where he is. From here, I'm going to lift my foot, and I'm going to stomp right on his foot. From here, that's going to loosen up his grip. I'm going to grab the meat of his pinky, roll his hand off my head. Again, his palm towards the sky. From here, I'm going to step back and out, make some space, some safety space. From here, I can push off his elbow for freedom. Let's try that one more time, a little quicker. So again, you're walking along, you could be sitting, someone grabs your hair. Trap it, step to the side, stomp his foot. Peel his hand towards the sky, step out. From here we can push away, or even better, we could strike him. Push yourself free to safety. There's one more tip to help keep you safe.
If I were brave.
Thank you to our guest, Joanna Mitchell, and to Jezebel. Now, every guest on Women of Courage takes home with her a beautiful floral arrangement from Fernley Flowers and an autographed copy of my book, Succeeding in Spite of Everything. Remember, in every setback lies opportunity. Opportunity for you to call up all that you have learned through your own personal experience and the experiences of others. Opportunity to rely on your core beliefs and values and find your way through to new opportunities and to succeed in spite of everything. Until next time, be courageous.
If I were brave, I'd walk the razor's edge where fools and...
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line at 519-660-7548 or email us with your comments.
Skate park is a safe place to participate in physical outdoor activities.
I'm Jed Lau, host of Simply Cooking.
I faced it. I have Alzheimer's disease.
My diagnosis has let me get on with my life my way.
The more we learned about my grandfather's dementia, the more we could face the future and make plans.
My husband Tom and I spoke to our doctor right away.
I have Alzheimer's, but it doesn't have me.
I faced it. So can you.